Welcome to the Noah Best Perspective, Episode 2. Today we're going to be talking about the current government shutdown that started today, October 1st, at midnight this morning. And we're going to talk about who done it. It's a who done it case today. We are 17 hours, 16 minutes, and 39 seconds in. Now this is not live. This is going to be a recording, so it's going to pop up on YouTube later, but it's crazy. So there's this video here by the press secretary, clip for the press secretary, talking about how the Democrats have shut down the government because President Trump and Republicans will not force American taxpayers to pay for free healthcare for illegal aliens. Now, I will point out that I don't think this crux of the taxpayers paying for free healthcare for illegal aliens is a super sturdy foundation, because in the bill itself, I got to find the post by Rapid Response 47. I forgot to grab it before, but there is a post by Rapid Response 47 that they posted earlier. I swear I saved it, but I didn't find it in my saved list, where they talk about there's a post of the bill itself that might have been the White House page. We won't worry about that. But basically, in it, the reading of the bill that the Democrats tried to put was a little bit shaky on what it was. It's really just trying to extend the Affordable Care Act subsidies in some certain areas that are going to expire at the end of the year, not even November 21st, which is when the continuing resolution passed by the House. So it's just to kind of explain really what's going on, kind of in like super simple terms. The government runs on appropriated money by Congress. That's the Congress's job, set out in the Constitution. They appropriate money, and that money that was appropriated is appropriated for a certain amount of time, and it ends on the fiscal at the end of the time it has expired. So the time the most recent was October 1st. So it expired October 1st. So now they have to take and pass a new budget. And the Republicans put together a continuing resolution, which basically takes the budget that was passed already in March, and are just extending it so we can come to a new complete budget program. So that's the idea. It's not anything added. It's only adjusted for inflation. So it's not actually decreasing. It's only increasing and decreasing based off of the current rate of inflation. So it's not actually any changes. There's no policy changes. It is, in their words, a clean budget. That's why they're trying to put the blame on the Democrats, who put forth a version that adds $1.5 trillion in spending. That includes the extension of the ACA subsidies and a bunch of other stuff. So the idea is they're using it to try to put the blame on Trump and the Republicans, so that the government doesn't shut down. But the House already passed this bill, and the goal is to try to get something out of it. Now, in this sense, there's no reason to try to get anything out of it. The Republicans aren't trying to get anything out of it. There's really no part of it. That's why, ultimately, really, if you want the answer, it's the Democrats who shut the government down. It was Chuck Schumer. It was the minority party in the government shut it down because it requires 60 votes to pass the Senate because of the filibuster rule. So the Senate, even though it does have a majority of Republicans, can't pass it without 60 votes. They did have 2 Democrat votes. I know the one was John Fetterman. I don't know the other guy's name. I don't remember off the top of my head. But they did vote for it. There was 55 to 45, I believe, was the final vote. They needed 60 to pass, and that happened last night, so the government shut down. And there's also in here, she mentions this, some information here. This is there's a poll here, the New York Times poll, that 2/3 of voters did not want the Democrats to shut down the government if their demands were not met. Which basically means if the demands aren't met, don't shut it down. There's no reason to shut it down because there's nothing to gain from it. They can also take this leverage and wait later till November 21st, or wait till the next time the Republicans want to do something. That's how our government's supposed to work. We're supposed to work together and come up with stuff together on that. Like, we're supposed to compromise. Like, that's what our country's built on. But it's not happening because there's no compromise there. They're just putting more in that isn't needed, because even those subsidies don't expire till the end of the year. So they don't actually even need to be put in on this one. And the extension was only till November 21st. They could do it again on November 21st. They could take that fight and continue to fight for it then. That gives a whole month and a half to make their message out to the American people, to be like, hey, this is what we think. This is what we want to do. And the minute the American people say, hey, that's what we want to do, then the Republicans have to feel the pressure and then vote that way. That's how the government's supposed to work. They're representing the people. That's the point. But that's not what's going on. It's more of a super partisan, let's push this $1.5 trillion in additional spending, which we don't even have the money. We're $37 trillion in debt. That's what Caroline Levitt was saying in her press conference. I mean, ultimately, like, we don't have the money to spend. We talk about ours and so much debt and what have you, but we need to get that under control. So finding more things to spend money on is not a great idea. Whether or not it's on illegal immigration or whatever, like, you could no matter what it is, there's nothing we should be really spending the money on. The government spending money we don't have just makes inflation worse. It's just going to continue to be worse. It's not going to help anything. Nothing we do lowering interest rates, nothing's going to help that if we don't get the debt under control. That's ultimately the problem. And that's why it's interesting. But it definitely, almost without a doubt, is Chuck Schumer shutdown. There's a little bit more here. I mean, there's the White House blaming that the 15 trillion radical wish list. Oh well, whatever it's for. You could take that out of the argument, and I'd still say it's a Democrat shutdown. It ultimately is. It's on. They need 7 Democrats to vote for it, and they didn't get 7 Democrats to vote for it. It's nothing partisan. It is literally the same one that was already voted for already. So it's like, yeah, maybe it was partisan one was voted for, but like, let's extend it for 45 days, I believe is the extension number. I don't know exact off the top of my head. Maybe 50 days. Whatever the case is. The extension isn't another, I don't believe it was a 6-month term. If I'm wrong, correct me in the comments below. I could be wrong about that. But ultimately, we could blame it on the Democrats for the shutdown. Just a little bit from Russ Vought, the OMB director. I can skip that. But another one-off side thing, which I thought was interesting. Trump met with Pfizer CEO, and they discussed making Pfizer and other pharmaceutical companies sell their prescription drugs to Medicaid at the most favored nation's prices. Basically, the lowest price they're selling it to a country in the world. So if they're selling, let's say, Tylenol for $1 a pill in another country, we're going to be paying $1 a pill if that's the lowest one available. So it's going to be interesting because that means some of those countries actually have laws requiring the lower payment. So we're going to get those lower costs on those drugs. So it's interesting. I don't know what's going to happen because I think it's going to make our infrastructure for our drug research, which we're one of the leading nations in that, it's going to decrease it because Pfizer's not going to have as much money to spend on it. That's one of the ideas with lowering drugs is like, yeah, up front it's going to cost less, but is Pfizer going to have more money to spend to make new drugs? No, because they're going to keep paying their CEO and their board of directors millions of dollars every year because they can. They're going to do it. They'd rather make their money now. They're only around for so long. They don't care about the next generation. People, they care about their money, ultimately. So these parasitic pharmaceutical companies are like, yeah, we'll do that. And then we're not going to spend any more money. And we're going to, whatever, like if they're losing $10 in profit on a certain drug, they're going to just take that $10 in profit they're losing and stop reinvesting it to make new drugs. So they're just going to sell the ones they have. It's just how it's going to work ultimately. But I thought it was interesting. We'll see what comes of that. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence of it. I don't think forcing companies to make their prices a certain way is ideal. Really, it's the insurance companies that have made the prices so high because they can. Because we pay our insurance costs, the insurance companies pay it. And then the insurance companies work with the pharmaceutical companies to get deals when they need it, but they don't really care about us, they care about their money. So that's the problem with the system, the third-party medical care system. And that would be the same if the government was taking care of healthcare, what have you, whatever. If it's insurance companies, government, whoever's paying for it, ultimately if someone other than you is paying for it, it's going to be more expensive than if you're paying for it yourself. That's just how it is. Just the law, basically, of the economic situation of having, if you have 3 people who have to benefit from it, so you as a consumer have to benefit physically from the medication. The manufacturer, like Pfizer, has to benefit from the selling. The insurance company that you're technically paying through has to make money off of that somewhere. So you're adding an additional person to make money. So overall, your prices are actually higher, even though you might up front. But that the idea with insurance is if you have a big out-of-pocket expense, yeah, you can't cover it. But that's what makes all the lesser necessary things like your regular doctor visits or prescription drugs to be more expensive because multiple people have to make money off of that. So the insurance company is going to pay whatever the pharmaceutical company asks, but your premiums are then based off of how much then they're going to have to spend out on average costs for everything. So your prices are going to be higher because one person might be making the insurance company pay even more out of pocket. So there's ultimately what's going to happen is we're going to have all these, when you price control drugs and pharmaceuticals, and the insurance premiums are going to go up. And the costs to produce the drugs are going to go up. The amount of research is going to go down because the costs have gone up. There's less money to invest back into the company. That's just how it works. That's how economies work. So the economies of checks and balances on each other. It's kind of how it goes. Another important thing that's happened this week before all the shutdown stuff was this plan President Donald Trump and his team put together to end the conflict in Gaza, the Israel situation. The first one, we're going to go through them all. We'll kind of talk through it at the end. Number one, Gaza is going to be de-radicalized into a terror-free zone that does not pose a threat to its neighbors. Number two, Gaza will be redeveloped for the benefit of the people of Gaza who have suffered more than enough. If both sides agree, the war will immediately end. Israeli forces will withdraw and prepare for hostage release. During this time, military operations, including aerial and artillery bombardment, will be suspended and battle lines will remain frozen until conditions are met for the complete staged withdrawal. Within 72 hours of Israel publicly accepting this agreement, all hostages, alive and deceased, will be returned. Once all hostages are released, Israel will release 250 life sentence prisoners plus 1,700 Gazans who were detained after October 7th, 2023, including all women and children detained in that context. For every Israeli hostage whose remains are released, Israel will release the remains of 15 deceased Gazans. Once all hostages are returned, Hamas members who commit to peaceful coexistence and to decommission their weapons will be given amnesty. Members of Hamas who wish to leave Gaza will be provided safe passage to receiving countries. Upon acceptance of this agreement, full aid will be immediately sent into the Gaza Strip. At a minimum, aid quantities will be consistent with what was included in the January 19, 2025 agreement regarding humanitarian aid, including rehabilitation of infrastructure, rehabilitation of hospitals and bakeries, and entry of necessary equipment to remove rubble and open up roads. Entry of distribution and aid into the Gaza Strip will proceed without interference from the two parties through the United Nations and its agencies and the Red Crescent. In addition to other international institutions not associated in any manner with either party, opening the Rafah crossing in both directions will be subject to the same mechanism implemented under the January 19, 2025 agreement. Number 9. Gaza will be governed under the temporary transitional governments of a technocratic, apolitical Palestinian committee responsible for delivering the day-to-day running of public services and municipalities for the people in Gaza. This committee will be made up of qualified Palestinians and international experts with oversight and supervision by a new international transitional body, the Board of Peace, which is going to be headed and chaired by President Donald J. Trump, with other members and heads of states to be announced, including the former Prime Minister Tony Blair. This body will set the framework and handle the funding for the redevelopment of Gaza until such as times as the Palestinian Authority has completed its reform program as outlined in various proposals, including President Trump's peace plan in 2020 and Saudi-French proposal, and can securely and effectively take back control of Gaza. This body will call on the best international standards to create modern, efficient governance that serves the people of Gaza and is conducive to attracting investment. A Trump economic development plan to rebuild and energize Gaza will be created by a convening panel of experts who have helped birth some of the thriving modern miracle cities in the Middle East. Many thoughtful investment proposals and exciting development ideas have been crafted by well-meaning international groups and will be considered to synthesize the security and governance frameworks to attract and facilitate these investments that will create jobs, opportunities, and hope for the future of Gaza. A special economic zone will be established with preferred tariff and access rates to be negotiated with participating countries. No one will be forced to leave Gaza. This was actually kind of interesting. People thought they were going to try to force people out, and according to this agreement, as long as it goes forward, they're not going to be forced out. And those who wish to leave will be free to do so and free to return. We will encourage people to stay and offer the opportunity to build a better Gaza. Hamas and other factions agree to not have any role in the governance of Gaza, directly, indirectly, or any form. All military terror and offensive infrastructure, including tunnels and weapon production facilities, will be destroyed and not rebuilt. There will be a process of demilitarization of Gaza under the supervision of independent monitors, which will include placing weapons permanently beyond use through an agreed process of decommissioning and supported by an internationally funded buyback and reintegration program, all verified by the independent monitors. New Gaza will be fully committed to building a prosperous economy and to peaceful coexistence with their neighbors. A guarantee will be provided by regional partners to ensure that Hamas and the factions comply with their obligations and that New Gaza poses no threat to its neighbors or people. The U.S. will work with Arab and international partners to develop a temporary international stabilization force, the ISF, to immediately deploy in Gaza. The ISF will train and provide support to vetted Palestinian police forces in Gaza and consult with Jordan and Egypt, who have extensive experience in this field. This force will be a long-term internal security solution. The ISF will work with Israel and Egypt to help secure border areas along with newly trained Palestinian police forces. It is crucial to prevent munitions from entering Gaza and to facilitate the rapid and secure flow of goods to rebuild and revitalize Gaza. A deconfliction mechanism will be agreed upon by the parties. Israel will not occupy or annex Gaza, which is one of the things that Hamas wanted. As the ISF establishes control and stability, the Israel Defense Forces (IDF) will withdraw based on standards, milestones, and time frames linked to the demilitarization that will be agreed upon between the IDF, ISF, the guarantors, and the United States, with the objective of a secure Gaza that no longer poses a threat to Israel, Egypt, or its citizens. Practically, the IDF will progressively hand over the Gaza territory it occupies to the ISF according to agreement they will make with the Transitional Authority until they are withdrawn completely from Gaza, save for a security perimeter presence that will remain until Gaza is properly secure from any resurgent terror threat. In the event Hamas delays or rejects this proposal, the above, including the scaled-up aid operation, will proceed in the terror-free areas handed over from the IDF to the ISF. An interfaith dialogue process will be established based on the values of tolerance and peaceful coexistence to try and change mindsets and narratives of Palestinians and Israelis by emphasizing the benefits that can be derived from peace. While Gaza redevelopment advances, and when the PA reform program is faithfully carried out, the conditions may finally be in place for a credible pathway to Palestinian self-determination and statehood, which we recognize as the aspiration of the Palestinian people. Now, this point 19 is probably the most important point, is an establishment of a Palestinian state, which a lot of people have been fighting for, and that's part of what a lot of people are protesting on the Hamas side of things. And are trying to get a Palestinian state. In number 20, the United States will establish a dialogue between Israel and the Palestinians to agree on a political horizon for peaceful and prosperous coexistence. And here's a map of the end of the war. This is the Gaza Strip. And these are the different lines that are going to be drawn back. And then this is the final look of the area. Now, I do have, and I got to find it. I apologize. I did not actually have it ready. I have an image here from a couple people here. It's a joint statement by the foreign ministers of Qatar, Jordan, United Arab Emirates, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt welcome U.S. President's sincere efforts to end the war in Gaza. The foreign ministers of the state of Qatar, the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, the Republic of Indonesia, the Islamic Republic of Pakistan, the Republic of Turkey, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Arab Republic of Egypt welcome President Donald J. Trump's leadership and his sincere efforts to end the war in Gaza and assert their confidence in his ability to find a path to peace. They emphasize the importance of the partnership with the U.S. in securing peace in the region. Along these lines, the ministers welcome the announcement by President Trump regarding the proposal to end the war, to rebuild Gaza and to prevent displacement of the Palestinian people, and advance a comprehensive peace, as well as his announcement that he will not allow the annexation of the West Bank. The ministers affirm their readiness to engage positively and constructively with the United States and the parties toward finalizing the agreement and ensuring its implementation in a manner that ensures peace, security, and stability for the peoples of the region. They reaffirm their joint commitment to work with the United States to end the war in Gaza through a comprehensive deal that ensures unrestricted delivery of sufficient humanitarian aid to Gaza, no displacement of the Palestinians, the release of hostages, a security mechanism that guarantees the security of all sides, a full Israeli withdrawal, rebuilds Gaza and creates a path for just peace on the basis of the two-state solution, under which Gaza is fully integrated with the West Bank and a Palestinian state in accordance with international law as key to achieving regional stability and security. Ultimately, this is a two-state solution, which is most likely the only likely outcome of any of this, because the war will never end. And it will continue to have violence, even if the IDF completely conquers all of the West Bank and annexes Gaza. Ultimately, there will be insurgents. There will be threats constantly in the cities, and it won't be a stable solution. A two-state solution is the ultimate only viable solution without total annihilation, and nobody really should believe in that. Ultimately, there's people on both sides who commit terrible evil. There's people on both sides that are completely innocent and are fighting for their freedom, is what they believe anyways. That's what they're being told. As they're being fed by their government officials. Ultimately, I do believe this plan could work. As of now, Hamas has not supported it. However, the way the agreement is set up, it doesn't require Hamas. It more requires the Palestinian people, because it's not really... Hamas is a faction of people who've kind of started this movement, but there's many other people in the area that are part of that movement. So like we can't kind of condense the whole side down to just Hamas versus Israel. Hamas is the one who started the violence and started the war. Israel is the one that's continued the war. Israel is the one that's been fighting for a single state solution. But it seems to me that this is a very likely outcome. And as long as, and I'm not 100%, I'd have to do a little bit more research before I speak with the affirmative, but it seems that Israel has come to agreement with this, but we'd see more. We have to see more on that as we continue this. This continues to kind of to break out and evolve the situation. Hopefully, a peace plan will come into place. Nobody wants to live in an area full of war and destruction. Hopefully, they could do that, and the area could be rebuilt for the future. But that's kind of it for the news and politics. On that, I really just wanted to cover the government shutdown. I thought that was the most important, like really breaking news. I mean, there's some other stuff going on. There's a bomb that was defused at a Turning Point USA event right before that happened. I'm not sure exactly where, when, exactly all the details on that. I just kind of read a quick article on that before. But this week we'll switch over to talking about the books. I did not finish my books on basic economics. I think that is it basic economics. I'm not 100% sure on the name actually. Now I think about it. But the book by Thomas Sowell I talked about last week. I haven't finished the book yet. I'm almost there. It's been a tough read. It's a hard read. It's all talking about economy and all the numbers and all that fun stuff. It's not an easy sit down and read 300 pages kind of thing. It's 300 pages of I'm going to take and read 20 pages every so often. It's a tough one. So I haven't got there. We're still going to be reading Federalist Papers and Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass, an American Slave. Still very excited for both these books. Going to be super insightful and learn a lot about the Constitution. Which on top of that, I've actually been listening to a lot of different interviews, talks, and lectures and other stuff by different Supreme Court justices like Antonin Scalia, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I want to say Justice Breyer. I don't remember his first name off the top of my head. I think it was Thomas. Could be wrong. But those are the books I was reading. And then this week, I didn't turn to it yet. I missed about that. But one of the important things out of my scripture reading this week, and this week would be the Gospel of John, where I was hitting on chapter 3. We can just go verses 16, and it was basically the 21, I believe. John 3:16-21. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. That's talking about the ultimate point of Jesus coming, right? Dying and saving everybody. And then verse 17. For God did not send his Son into the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. Continuing on that point. 18. He who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already, because he has not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. Verse 19. And this is the condemnation, that the light has come into the world, and men loved their darkness rather than light, because their deeds were evil. For everyone practicing evil hates the light, and does not come to the light, lest his deeds should be exposed. But he who does the truth comes to the light, that his deeds may be clearly seen, and that they have done good in God. The thing that kind of jumped out to me in that was really verse 18, that he who believes in him is not condemned, but he who does not believe is condemned already. And to me, it was thinking, like, in the sense where a lot of people are like, Christians, you shouldn't go judge people. And ultimately, this is where it's really saying that. And it's saying that, but he who does not believe is condemned already. So unbelievers are condemned already. We know that. And the only way to escape condemnation is through Jesus Christ. That's the whole crux of Christianity. If all of that falls apart, it doesn't exist. And really, the idea that the condemnation is there is not to condone sinful actions or condone those things, but to remember to look at the speck, to not look at the speck in our brother's eye, but the log in our own eye. And really, I mean, yeah, we guide our brothers and sisters. We guide those people to Jesus. But ultimately, we aren't here to condemn them. That's not our job. Our job is to tell them about him. And in the Great Commission, and that's in Matthew. We'll go to Matthew real quick. And in verse 19, it says, "Go therefore, make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe the things that I've commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the age." And then there's also that. But he's saying to go and make disciples. It's not go and tell people what's wrong. And even the standards of the Bible aren't for people who don't believe in them. So somebody doesn't believe them, they're not going to want to follow what Jesus said, and so we can't hold them to that. But we can tell them about what Jesus said, and we can do that lovingly. And that's kind of what jumped out to me this week. But I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, comment below, let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear them, love to talk. If you ever want to come on the show and talk about them, I'd love to do that. We can do that live. Love to do that. Thank you for watching. You have a good one.